The fluorescent lights of the Naval Special Warfare Center gymnasium buzzed overhead as Marcus Webb pushed his mop across the polished floor. At 72 years old, his movements were slower than they once were, but still deliberate, purposeful. The early morning shift meant he usually had the place to himself, just him and the echo of his footsteps in the cavernous space where America's finest trained. He didn't mind the solitude. In fact, he preferred it. The gym smelled of rubber mats and chlorine from the pool next door, mixed with the faint metallic scent of weightlifting equipment. Marcus had been working here for 3 years now, ever since his wife passed, and the silence of their empty house became too heavy to bear. The job didn't pay much, but it kept him moving, kept him around the kind of men he understood. "Hey, old man, you missed a spot over here." Marcus looked up to see a group of young SEALs in training walking in, their PT gear crisp and their attitudes sharper. The one who'd spoken, a muscular guy with a buzz cut and a smirk, pointed at a corner of the floor. "Actually already cleaned that section, sir," Marcus said quietly, leaning on his mop. "Sir?" The young man laughed, looking at his buddies. "Hear that? The janitor's calling me sir. That's cute." He walked closer, his boots squeaking on the wet floor Marcus had just mopped. "Listen, Pops, I don't know what nursing home you escaped from, but around here we have standards. That floor better shine like a mirror, understand?" Marcus nodded slowly, his weathered face showing no emotion. "Understood." "Good boy." The trainee patted Marcus on the shoulder in a patronizing way that made the old man's jaw tighten almost imperceptibly. "Now get back to work. Some of us actually contribute to this country's defense." The group laughed as they headed toward the weight area, their voices carrying across the gym. Marcus returned to his mop, moving it in steady strokes across the floor. His mind drifted, as it often did during moments like these, to a different time. The tropical heat, the sound of helicopter rotors, the weight of his rifle, the faces of his brothers. "You know what I heard?" one of the trainees said, his voice deliberately loud. "They hire these old guys because they feel sorry for them, like charity cases. Probably never did anything meaningful in their lives." "Probably right," another responded. "I mean, look at him. What kind of man ends up pushing a mop at 70-something? No ambition, no drive." Marcus's hand gripped the mop handle tighter, but he said nothing. He'd learned long ago that some battles weren't worth fighting. These kids didn't know, couldn't know. That was fine. He'd made his peace with anonymity decades ago. The morning continued like that. More trainees filtered in for their early PT session. Most ignored Marcus entirely, stepping around him like he was part of the furniture. A few made comments, nothing too harsh, just the casual dismissiveness that comes when youth looks at age and sees only decline. Around 8 a.m., Marcus was cleaning near the entrance when he heard sharp footsteps approaching. The rhythm was different, more measured, military cadence that spoke of rank and experience. Commander James Morrison walked through the door, his uniform immaculate, his bearing that of a man who'd spent 30 years earning every piece of metal on his chest. At 51, he was still in fighting shape, his grey-flecked hair the only real concession to age. He carried a clipboard and wore the expression of someone with a full day ahead of him. "Morning, Commander," one of the trainees called out, immediately straightening. "Morning," Morrison replied, his eyes scanning the gym with the practiced efficiency of someone who missed nothing. His gaze passed over Marcus briefly, then continued on. Marcus had seen the commander before, of course. They'd never spoken. Why would they? Morrison moved in the world of classified briefings and covert operations. Marcus moved a mop. "Lieutenant Chen," Morrison called out to one of the instructors. "I need the training schedule for next week. Some adjustments need to be made." As Morrison walked across the gym toward the office area, he passed close to where Marcus was working. The old man had his back turned, wringing out his mop in the bucket, his short-sleeved work shirt exposing his forearms. Morrison's eyes caught something. He stopped mid-stride. On Marcus's right forearm, faded but still clearly visible, was a tattoo. A skull with a trident through it, surrounded by an anchor and eagle. Below it, dates, 1968, 1971, and a single word in Latin that made Morrison's blood run cold, Morior Invictus. I die undefeated. Commander Morrison stood frozen, his eyes locked on the tattoo. His mind raced through decades of naval history, through classified files, through stories whispered in the hallways of SOCOM headquarters. That specific design, that Latin phrase, those dates. There were only 37 men who carried that mark, and as far as Morrison knew, only 4 were still alive. "Excuse me," Morrison said, his voice suddenly different, stripped of its casual morning tone. Marcus turned, still holding the mop, water dripping onto the floor. "Yes, Commander?" Morrison stared at the old man's face, really seeing it for the first time. The weathered skin, yes, the lines of age, certainly, but underneath the bone structure of someone who'd once been chiseled from granite. The eyes, pale blue, that still held something sharp despite their watery appearance. The way he stood, even now, even holding a mop, had the ghost of a ready stance. "That tattoo," Morrison said quietly, stepping closer. "Where did you get it?" Marcus glanced down at his forearm as if he'd forgotten it was there. "Long time ago, sir. I'm aware of that. I can read the dates." Morrison's voice had taken on an edge. "I'm asking where, and more importantly, how." The gym had gone quieter. Some of the nearby trainees were watching now, confused by the commander's sudden intensity focused on the janitor. Marcus met Morrison's eyes steadily. "Didn't think anyone would recognize it anymore." "Answer the question." It wasn't harsh, but it was absolutely a command. "Got it in Saigon," Marcus said, "after my 3rd tour. Place was run by a former Macy V. SOG guy who did custom work. He only gave that design to operators who'd been through certain programs." Morrison's jaw clenched. "Programs plural? How many?" "3. Marcus's voice was quiet but carried. "Mac VSOG, Phoenix, and another one that didn't have a name, just a number." The clipboard in Morrison's hand trembled slightly. "What was your team designation?" "Delta 7. Morrison actually stepped back, his face going pale. One of the nearby trainees, sensing something significant was happening, had pulled out his phone and started recording. Others were gathering closer. "Delta 7 was KIA, Morrison said, his voice barely above a whisper. "The entire team. Cambodia, 1970. It's in the records." Marcus smiled sadly. "The records say a lot of things that aren't quite right, Commander. Had to be that way. We went places that officially didn't exist, did things that officially didn't happen. Easier to list us as dead than explain where we'd been." "The Hell's March operation," Morrison breathed. "You were there. You were actually there. I was there." Marcus's voice was steady, but his eyes had gone distant, seeing something far beyond the gym walls. 73 days behind enemy lines, started with 12 men. 3 of us walked out. The gym was dead silent now. Even the trainees who had no idea what Hell's March was could sense the weight of the moment. The young SEAL who'd mocked Marcus earlier stood with his mouth open, his face draining of color. Morrison's hand moved almost unconsciously to his forehead. His body snapped into a salute so sharp it could have cut glass. "Master Chief Marcus Webb," Morrison said, his voice ringing across the gym. "On behalf of the United States Naval Special Warfare Command, it is my profound honor to be in your presence." Marcus shook his head slightly. "That's not necessary, Commander." "The hell it isn't." Morrison held the salute. "You're a living legend. Do you understand that? Men in my position study your operations. We teach courses on your tactics. The Tan Son Nut Rescue, the Phoenix infiltrations, the Cambodia extraction, where you carried 2 wounded men 15 miles through enemy territory. Sir, You're in the special warfare history books. Under a different name, I'm sure, Marcus said quietly. Most of what we did stayed classified. Classified, yes, but not forgotten. Not by those of us who understand what you sacrificed. Morrison finally lowered his salute. Sir, why are you working as a janitor? Marcus shrugged, the mop still in his hand. Needed a job. Wife passed 3 years back. Empty nest syndrome got too quiet. Saw you folks were hiring for maintenance. Figured I'd rather be around warriors than sitting alone watching game shows. Plus, the work keeps my hands busy. But sir, one of the nearby instructors said, having moved closer, with your record, with your experience, you could be teaching, consulting. You could name your price at any defense contractor. Don't want to teach, Marcus said simply. Don't want to consult. Don't want some office where people pretend to care about war stories from 50 years ago. I wanted honest work around honest men, even if they don't know me from Adam. That's enough. The young SEAL who'd called Marcus old man earlier pushed forward, his face red. Sir, I didn't know. I'm so sorry. The things I said. Marcus looked at him, and for the first time his expression softened slightly. You said what you saw, son. Old guy with a mop. Nothing wrong with your eyes. How could you know? But I should have shown respect regardless, the young man said, and there were genuine tears forming. You're everything I'm trying to become, and I treated you like garbage. And now you've learned something, Marcus said. Never judge a person by their current station. You don't know where they've been. You don't know what they've done. You don't know what scars they carry. He tapped his chest. Some wounds don't show. Commander Morrison was staring at Marcus with an expression that mixed awe, respect, and something close to grief. Sir, with all due respect, this is unacceptable. You shouldn't be here mopping floors. You're a Master Chief, a decorated combat veteran who served in the most elite units this country has ever fielded. Marcus set the mop against the wall, finally releasing it after holding it through the entire exchange. Commander, I appreciate the sentiment. I do. But this is exactly what I want to be doing. I chose this. Nobody forced me here. Morrison shook his head, his mind clearly working through something. That may be what you think you want, sir, but it's not what you deserve. Not what this community owes you. He turned to the assembled group, which had grown to nearly 40 people now, trainees and instructors alike. Does everyone here understand who this man is? Silence. A few nods. Most looked confused. This is Master Chief Marcus Webb. 3 tours in Vietnam with Mac Visog. Participated in over 100 classified operations. Silver Star with 2 oak leaf clusters. Navy Cross. Purple Heart with 4 oak leaf clusters. He was wounded 7 times in combat. 7 times. And he went back every single time. Morrison's voice was rising, passion breaking through his usual controlled demeanor. The Cambodia operation alone, the one where he carried 2 wounded teammates 15 miles, saved 23 lives. 23 American servicemen came home to their families because this man refused to leave anyone behind. One of the female instructors, Lieutenant Jessica Rodriguez, stepped forward. Master Chief, I wrote my thesis at the War College on unconventional warfare tactics in Southeast Asia. Your team's operations were case studies in courage and innovation. You changed how we think about deep reconnaissance. Marcus looked uncomfortable. That was a team effort, Lieutenant. I was just one part. A team of legends, she replied. And you were the senior NCO, the one who kept them alive. She turned to Morrison. Sir, we can't let him continue working as maintenance. It's wrong. I agree, Morrison said. He focused back on Marcus. Sir, I'm making you an offer. Effective immediately. I want you as a senior advisor to our training program. Full consultant status. You'd work with our advanced tactical teams, share your experiences, help shape the next generation of operators. The pay would be substantial, and the respect would be what you've earned." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. The gym remained silent, everyone waiting for his answer. Finally, he spoke. "That's generous, Commander, truly, but I'm going to have to decline." "Sir, please reconsider." "Let me finish," Marcus said gently. "I lived that life for years, decades if you count everything after Vietnam. I've been the senior advisor. I've been the consultant. I've been the man in the room where decisions get made. And it's important work, crucial work, but it's not my work anymore." He looked around at the faces watching him. Young faces mostly, hungry faces. "Warriors in the making. I learned something a long time ago," Marcus continued. "Every mission needs every role filled. The operators get the glory and they deserve it. They're on the sharp end. But someone has to maintain the equipment. Someone has to keep the facilities running. Someone has to do the work nobody notices. That's not lesser work. It's different work. And right now, this is the work I need to do." "But why?" the young SEAL who'd mocked him asked, genuinely confused. "You've proven everything. You don't have anything left to prove." Marcus smiled at that. "Son, I stopped trying to prove things before you were born. This isn't about proving anything. It's about finding peace." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "When my wife died, I lost my anchor. She was the one who kept me grounded, kept me human after all the things I'd seen and done. Without her, I was drifting, coming here, doing this simple work, being around warriors but not having to be one anymore. It gives me purpose without pressure. Does that make sense?" Morrison's expression had changed. The urgency had faded, replaced by understanding. "It does, sir. It absolutely does." "However," Marcus said, and there was a hint of something new in his voice, "I wouldn't mind one small change." "Name it," Morrison said immediately. "These floors really are a pain to clean," Marcus said, and several people laughed. "If you got budget for a better commercial floor cleaner, my back would appreciate it." The tension broke. Laughter rippled through the group, genuine and warm. Morrison laughed too, shaking his head. "I think we can manage that, Master Chief. Just Marcus is fine." "No, sir," Morrison said firmly. "It's not. You earned that rank. You earned the respect that comes with it. If you want to keep this job, that's your choice and I'll respect it. But everyone in this facility is going to know who you are. Everyone is going to treat you with the honor you deserve. That's non-negotiable." Marcus looked like he wanted to argue, but something in Morrison's expression stopped him. "All right, Commander, if that's how it has to be." "It is." Morrison turned to address the gathered crowd. "Pass the word. Master Chief Webb is continuing in his current position by his own choice. Anyone who treats him with anything less than complete respect will answer to me personally. Clear?" A chorus of "Yes, sir," echoed through the gym. The young SEAL who'd started this whole situation stepped forward again. "Master Chief, I know I apologized already, but I need you to understand how sorry I am. The disrespect I showed you, there's no excuse." Marcus studied him for a moment. "What's your name, son?" "Petty Officer 2nd Class Tyler Davidson, Master Chief." "Well, Davidson, you made a mistake. You judged a book by its cover. Now you know better. The question is, what are you going to do with that knowledge?" "Sir, I'll never make that assumption again. About anyone." "Good. That's the lesson. Learn it and move forward. No sense carrying guilt when you can carry growth instead." Marcus extended his hand. "We good?" Davidson shook it, and the relief on his face was visible. "Yes, Master Chief, we are good. And sir, if you ever need anything at all, I'm here." Over the next hour, something remarkable happened. Word spread through the Naval Special Warfare Center like wildfire. Off-duty personnel came in just to meet Marcus. Instructors shared stories they'd heard about Delta 7. Trainees asked questions, their earlier arrogance replaced by genuine curiosity and respect. Marcus answered what he could, though many details remained classified even after all these years. He was patient with the young SEALs, understanding their hunger to connect with living history. Commander Morrison stayed nearby, watching the interactions with a mixture of pride and sadness. During a quiet moment, he pulled Marcus aside. "Master Chief, I need to say something. Off the record." "Go ahead, Commander." "Men like you, the ones who did what you did in those years, you paid a price most people can't understand. And then you came home to a country that didn't appreciate it, didn't want to hear about it, sometimes actively opposed it. That's a betrayal that runs deep." Marcus nodded slowly. It was a different time. "It was a wrong time," Morrison said bluntly. "And the fact that you still choose to serve, even in this capacity, even after everything, it humbles me. It should humble everyone here." "Commander, I appreciate that. But I made peace with those years a long time ago. My wife helped with that. She understood that I did what I believed was right with the information I had. She didn't judge the politics or the outcomes. She just saw me, the man underneath the uniform. That was enough." "She sounds like an incredible woman." "She was." Marcus's voice softened. 23 years of marriage wasn't enough. I'd give anything for 23 more." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the activity in the gym. Then Morrison spoke again. "Master Chief, I know you declined my offer, and I respect your decision, but I want you to know the offer stands permanently. If you ever change your mind, if you ever want something different, my door is open." "I appreciate that, sir. And one more thing." Morrison's expression became more formal. "There's a ceremony next month. We're dedicating the new training facility. I'd like you to be there, not as an employee, as an honored guest. We want to recognize your service properly." Marcus hesitated. "Commander, I'm not sure." "Please, sir, it would mean a great deal to the community, to the younger generation. They need to see that heroes aren't just in history books. They're real. They're here. Sometimes they're pushing mops, but they're still heroes." Marcus looked at the faces around the gym, young warriors building themselves into the kind of operators who might one day face impossible odds and do impossible things, just like he had, just like his brothers had. "All right," he said finally, "I'll be there." Morrison smiled, the first genuine smile Marcus had seen from him. "Thank you, Master Chief." As the morning progressed and the crowd eventually dispersed to their training rotations, Marcus returned to his work. But it was different now. People nodded as they passed. Some stopped to shake his hand, others just gave him space, but their eyes held respect instead of dismissal. Petty Officer Davidson approached again during the afternoon, carrying something in his hands. "Master Chief, I wanted to give you this." He held out a Navy SEAL trident pin, the golden eagle clutching an anchor, trident, and pistol. "It's my spare. I know you have your own somewhere, but I wanted you to have this one. From me. As a reminder that what you taught me today matters." Marcus took the pin, feeling its weight. "This is yours, Davidson. You earned it. And now I'm giving it to someone who earned it long before I was born. Please, sir, it would honor me." Marcus closed his fingers around the pin. "Thank you, son. I'll keep it." That evening, as Marcus finished his shift and prepared to leave, Commander Morrison appeared one last time. "Master Chief, I arranged for that new floor cleaner. It'll be here tomorrow, industrial grade, top of the line." "Appreciate it, Commander. It's the least I can do." Morrison paused. "Can I ask you something personal?" "Go ahead." "Do you ever regret it? The sacrifices you made? The things you saw?" Marcus considered the question carefully. "Regret is complicated, Commander. Do I wish I hadn't had to see my brothers die? Absolutely. Do I wish those wars had never happened? Every day. But do I regret stepping up when my country called? Do I regret protecting the men beside me? Do I regret trying to make a difference in an impossible situation? No, I don't regret that. I can't, because if I regret that, then I'm saying their sacrifices meant nothing, and they meant everything. Morrison nodded, his throat tight. Thank you, Master Chief, for your service, for your sacrifice, and for reminding us what true humility looks like. As Marcus walked out of the Naval Special Warfare Center that evening, the sun was setting over Coronado, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. He climbed into his old pickup truck, the same one he'd been driving for 15 years, and sat for a moment before starting the engine. His eyes fell on the sealed trident pin Davidson had given him. He studied it in the fading light, remembering the weight of the original one he'd earned so long ago, remembering the faces of the men he'd served with, the ones who came home and the ones who didn't. Then he carefully pinned it to his work shirt, right over his heart. Tomorrow, he'd be back at 6 a.m., mopping floors and maintaining equipment. But now, he'd do it with the understanding that sometimes the most powerful thing a warrior can do is choose peace, choose simplicity, choose to serve without needing recognition. He'd spent his youth proving he was brave enough to face death. Now, he'd spend his years proving he was brave enough to face life. As he drove home through the California evening, Master Chief Marcus Webb smiled. His wife would have been proud of him today. Not for the recognition, but for the grace with which he'd handled it, for staying true to himself even when offered an easier path. He was exactly where he needed to be. And that, after everything, was its own kind of victory. The kind that didn't need a medal, just a mop, a purpose, and peace.